We will get this party started. Welcome to February's live class. So glad to see you all here today. We're going to talk about customer stories. And I had the most wonderful email this morning from my friend Debbie Keevan, and the subject was customer stories. And I thought she was emailing me and telling me she couldn't make it to class or catch the replay. And instead she asked me to be on her customer story. And I'm like, yay! I don't know if she planned that on purpose, but I thought the timing was serendipitous. So happy to be part of your customer story. And I'm sure all of your clients will be, because they love to talk about their stories, their transformations, the things that they've purchased from you. I know some of us have businesses that deal with more serious transformation, and some people like Karen have fun products that make people happy, and none of it is more or less important than the other, because we bring joy in all that we do. We all know, and I don't have to tell you, that customer stories can really do the marketing work for you. And where a lot of solopreneurs like us kind of fall down on the job is collecting the stories and getting those stories out there so that they can do the marketing jobs for us. Now, some of you may have a process already for this, and that's fantastic. I don't want you to change your process if it's working for you. But for those of you who don't have a process yet, we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the components of a good, effective customer story, so that when you are putting it out there into the world, it's doing its job. It's doing what it's supposed to do, which is to attract someone to your program or to your product, whatever it is that you're selling. So last month, if you might remember, we used this book as a reference guide, Stories That Stick by Kindra Hall. And we went through the founder story and the value story. And we're going to continue with, from her teachings, the customer story. There's a fourth story framework she has in here called the purpose story. And I didn't want to delve into that because all of us are in different stages of our business. And the purpose story is really a great story, but it's really, in my opinion, intended for people who need investors or maybe doing a Kickstarter or something like that. So if that's in your future, which would be delightful, know that this book has a tool for you to help you if you should need that. But we're going to do customer stories for her book. So just a reminder, this is on page 1. I know for those of you who went through this last month, Kindra proposes a really good set of framework and components for brand stories. A customer story is a brand story. And I'm just going to go over them very quickly because I know we talked about it last month, but just to refresh our memories, because last month felt like a year ago already. I don't know about you all. So she proposes that every story have 4 components, one of which is the identifiable character. So in a customer story, guess who the identifiable character is? Your client! Yay, no brainer there. The second component is authentic emotion. Emotions really propel that story. They kind of sell the story, if you will. It doesn't have to be, major emotions, depression, those, it could be just joy. It could be happiness. It might be something that might be considered trite, but it's still an emotion nonetheless. We want to highlight it. Then the third component is that significant moment, that thing, that aha moment, that Oprah Winfrey used to call us. I think everybody kind of has that in their vernacular now. That thing that sort of just changed, like, oh, and now things went on a different trajectory. And finally, my favorite, number 4, the specific details. Those little details that you add to your story to really ground the story, making it into an image in someone's mind's eye, so to speak. I mentioned in my book, I'm writing for Lab Woman. I have a scene where I'm dreaming about being on an airplane and just staring at the tray table in front of me. And I think anybody who's ever been on an airplane could see the tray table with the little turner thing. That's just a grounding piece of that story. And so you need to add the tray table, whatever that looks like for you. And then from the framework, this is not anything, we probably all learned this in middle school, high school. There's a beginning, middle, and end to our stories. Kindra calls that the normal, the explosion, that aha moment again, and then the new normal, which is hopefully an improvement on their normal framework. So we used those frameworks last month in the founder and value stories. And I know some of you probably continue to work on that. And I want to pause and ask if anybody had any questions about the components and or the framework before we delve into the customer side. Did anything jump out at you? Was something hard to come up with? Any resistance? Are we all good? Okay, good. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but you know, sometimes I know from writing books, sometimes you're like, yeah, I get it, I got it. And then you go in there and actually try to execute and you're just like, I don't really know if I got that wrong. So how many of you already have a process for collecting customer stories or customers, Debbie? Yes, it is absolutely futile. How many of you already have a process for collecting customer stories, customer testimonials? Okay, so some of you are like, a couple of you definitely have them. So let's just stop for a moment and for some of us, this will be a revisit because we talked about this in a module, I don't know when, a while ago. So many of you know I do the Sister of the Month, and some of you have been Sisters of the Month. And there are a lot of reasons why I do Sister of the Month. I want to absolutely acknowledge someone and celebrate her success because we don't see enough of that, right? And we certainly don't do it enough for ourselves. It markets the Celestial University in a beautiful way. It also forces me to gather a testimonial once a month. So at least once a month, I'm getting a testimonial from someone who's in the Celestial University. And that's why and there, you know, those are just some of the reasons why I do Sister of the Month. And you may, it's not, trust me, I didn't create that idea. We've heard of employees of the month. We've heard of teachers of the month. We've heard of students of the month. I just adapted it. But if that makes sense for some of your businesses, use it, because I tell you, it's one survey and it becomes very easy for me within 20 to 30 minutes at the most. And that's including the graphic design, which Hannah put a template together for me. So all I have to do is just drop in pictures and words. 20 to 30 minutes maximum a month. I have a beautiful testimonial that goes out. So if that resonates with you, then think about implementing that. Another reason why the Sister of the Month works is because of the questions I ask. The questions are very deliberate. I'm trying to get a story out of that person. And the first thing I want them to do is talk about themselves. And so my survey, as many of you may remember, asks, you know, what you do, who's your ideal client, what does your typical day look like, those kind of questions, because I want the person to market him or herself, right? But then I also ask questions about the Celestial University. I ask questions about what's your favorite part? Why are you still a member of Celestial University? How important is the community? What was your marketing like before you joined Celestial University? Now, what does your marketing look like now that you've been in the program for a while? And these are all guided questions. And if you look at what I have on page 2, you will see I've adapted, especially on I just updated the survey for 2021. I've adapted these questions in a way onto my survey that I ask the Sisters of the Month. So that's my process. Now that may not work for your business, or you may need to adapt it. But for those of you who don't have a process, now is the time to create one, because we want these type of things to become a habit and sort of on autopilot. And if you can even outsource it to a virtual assistant to help you, even better. But we want to create that because I don't want you to fall down on the job of collecting these customer stories. So let me pause for a second. Does anybody have any questions about my process or how you can adapt it? Or maybe you want to share about the process that you have for other ideas. Connie Jo, please go.
Okay, so you're calling this a customer story, but is this the same as a testimonial?
So,
how is it different?
Well, you know, I think it's semantics. In my brain, I consider a customer testimonial short, sweet, to the point, like you put on a graphic, social media graphic, or a story would be something that is longer. So it could be a page, a full page of content, or a video, or something like that. So that's my definition. But again, I think it's semantics.
Okay.
You're welcome. Debbie, you wrote light bulb in the chat box. Can you?
I don't know why I didn't think of it, but I could have an author of the month where I highlight an
Yeah,
author and their experience. And I love that.
yeah.
And I can do 20 minutes a month.
If at the most, and especially once, like the front end is always a little more, because you have to set it all up.
Right.
So I use Jotform,
Hmm.
but you can use whatever your favorite survey tool is. I create the questions. I'm happy to post the questions if y'all want to see them. And then, what I do is by like week or day 10 of the month prior, I email somebody, say, congratulations, your sister of the month. I give her a week to complete the form. I have a spot in there for her to upload a photo. So I have their preferred photo there. And then because it's the same questions every month, I copy, paste right in. And really my VA could do it. It goes so quick. I do it myself, and that's it.
I
It's
love it.
completely- yeah,
Thank you.
you're
I
welcome.
love it.
Yeah, so think about that. Margaret, did you have your hand up as saying that you had a process? Do you mind sharing what your process is?
Yes, I created an evaluation for my coaching clients.
Perfect.
And in there, I give a section for a testimonial.
Good for you.
And then in there, I also say permission to use your name, yes or no,
Mhm.
or initials only, yes or
Mhm.
no, or something like that, so that they can do that. And so I just remembered that I can do that also for all these people I'm helping with their LinkedIn profiles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think especially with the LinkedIn profiles, but really for every aspect of your business, really try to dig into that before and after. What did their LinkedIn profile look like before your help? And what does it look like now? How do they feel now about their LinkedIn profile?
That's good.
Yeah.
And one of the things I need to do is take a screenshot of their before.
Yeah, excellent idea. And with their permission, post it. Just like
Just so that they can see what it looked like before and after, because we don't do that. By the time I get in there and we rearrange everything, and they put in their banners and all of that. Yeah. So thank you for that jog.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big piece. Hannah, you too, for your graphic design, especially like if you think about before you worked with me, I had my homegrown DIY version. And so that was my state of before. And then now I got the after, which I'm proud of. And I can't wait to share graphic from my brand now. So think about that too, Hannah. Sometimes it's, there's a physical, tangible thing you can show. And then when you do that, really make sure you know the emotions of the person in that before and after process. Because again, that's what's going to sell, right? Now, so for Karen, I know you gather reviews or because I see you're on the back of the envelope when you send it out. So how are you collecting those, or do you just getting them?
I'm just getting them.
That's beautiful.
And also, I just print them out, save them. I've got 2 great big binder clips full of them, and I just go through them. And if I've used them, I put an X on them, and but they just come in mainly so new people can see that they did get the product, or it was packed well, or that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then occasionally I'll get them on a specific product. And if you've seen in the catalog, I'll print that with the products, so someone can see that someone really liked it.
Yep.
We also had a collector of the month.
Oh.
I've been doing a print newsletter for my customers, for my 100 best customers for years.
Mhm.
And of course, I lost the person who was doing that for me.
Mhm.
And my one daughter said, we can do this. She said, if you just send me the stuff, I'll do it. But I just haven't gotten to that yet. And maybe I had 15 different people that just wrote about their collections and how they got started collecting, and maybe some pictures of their collection, and did that for a while. But I quit asking several of them did it. And then people just submitted stuff about when they went places and they saw things and printed that. So usually I didn't have to ask.
Right.
And
And-
so I just depend on people emailing me for the ones that I print on the back of the envelope.
And didn't you mention to me once that people kind of look for their quote, hoping that you
They
pick it?
do, and they're real excited.
Yeah, I love that sense of, ooh, who's going to be in the back of the envelope? Since just adds a sense of excitement in addition to the
Yeah,
product inside.
I'm always happy when you use my quote. And
Yep.
I've got one lady who always sends me such nice things because she's hoping I will print them.
It's okay. Is it that if it works for you and it works for her?
Yeah.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. There is
Yeah.
something about whether it's your mentor or your person you're purchasing products from, an author, recognizing you for the praise that you bestowed upon that person, right? I remember when Brene Brown's book the last book came out, Dare to Lead, and I posted something about it on Instagram, and someone, it probably wasn't her, but I'm going to pretend it was, hearted the post. I'm like, wait, I'm dead. I'm good. I can die today and we're good. Brene Brown liked my post. So don't forget that as well, is that especially if you're feeling resistance about asking for customer stories, people like to share their stories and they like to see themselves. If they don't, they'll let you know that I'm not interested, and that's fine. But most people like to be in the spotlight like that and share their stories.
And Debbie's right. People like to see their name in print.
Absolutely. It's so true. Yep. It's so true. So thank you for sharing that. Is Connie Jo, go ahead. Where'd that mute button go?
I do a Google form.
Yep.
And I was just going to share what I ask.
Okay.
And this was all based on your testimonial module that you did, whoever knows when. But I asked just a few simple questions. What was your life like before I started doing your books? How has your life changed since I started doing your books? How has your business changed since I started doing your books? And what pain point has been eliminated since you started working with me? And then the last question is, what is the best thing about working with me?
Lovely.
So, some people just write, real short answers, but some people write a lot.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot that comes to mind.
Everybody's response is going to be different, how much time they take for it. But I love that. So what I would revisit is, I would look at the questions on page 2 and 3, so to speak, and determine if there's any questions that maybe you'd like to include. One thing, as you read that, just a suggestion, and you can take it or leave it, Connie Jo, just a suggestion is maybe say, what were your pain points before working with me? And then which pain, are those pain points gone? I would lead them a little bit more through that pain point journey. And making them stop to think about the pain points, and maybe don't even use that term. What was keeping you up about your books? What were you worried about with your books? Because pain point is a marketing term, and I don't know, I would hate to assume that everybody knows what that means. Debbie, what do you think?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is you may not want to know what their life was like before, but really what was their business like really focus it on their business and how it was impacting their lives. That feeling of, I was wrestling, I was avoiding.
Yeah.
And
sleep, eating chocolate. I mean, whatever. I mean, everybody's reactions are different. Really tapping into that state of mind. How did it feel? Blah, 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 blah. What emotions did you feel? You really have to lead them to the water. Lead them to drink the water that you want them to drink. It's not being inauthentic. It's getting the product, that's getting the result you're looking for. If they don't like the question, they won't answer it. And so that's fine. You skip it or whatever. It's just not a good testimonial. So we talk about gathering testimonials, which again, as I define, and this is again, it's a semantic thing. I define testimonials shorter, something you can use like at the bottom of a newsletter or a social media graphic. I envision a story to be something a bit longer. So a story could be a case study, so to speak, something you can include in your newsletter in a longer form. It could be a video. It could be a 3-part series on video or on social media. It could be something you use in a webinar or in some type of thing where you're attracting people in through a program. So if you haven't been to one of those 3-day events where a mentor is selling, and Sage is really the company behind the scenes who does a lot of this setup. There's a formula to it. And one of their formulas is they have people come up who've been in that program before for a year or more, and they come on stage all together like a talk show, and they talk about their experiences. And the mentor is very deliberate about the questions he or she is asking them, right? Because they're telling the story, they're allowing the person to share their successes. But if a really good mentor, and a lot of us went through Fabienne, but Tony Robbins does this, you name it. I mean, gosh, Christine Kane does this, everybody does this. The questions that the mentor is asking are very intentional to get this information that will help sell out of these customers' mouths. And that's really what you're after as well, is the story. People love to read stories. You could even just put this in an email with the person's photo and people will read it. People will listen to it. That's why people listen to podcasts. That's why people watch videos, because they love to consume content that way. So what I'd like for you to do for this month is, yes, create that process. If you don't already have one, or fine tune your process for collecting your testimonials, and make sure you get your testimonials out there. Don't forget about the hashtag Testimonial Tuesday. Great way to remind, once a week at least, you're getting a testimonial out there if you want to use that hashtag. That's on Twitter, now Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I suppose probably has it too. I haven't seen anybody use Testimonial Tuesday, but I bet it's out there. But then think about the longer form story. So I'm going to pick on Debbie for a second, because she had emailed me prior to class. Debbie, do you mind? So you asked me to do an interview.
I did.
So do you mind, if you thought about it, do you mind sharing what you think you're going to do with these interviews that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, in particular, your interview, I wanted to get the perspective of someone who'd had in the past self-published a book, and then the difference in the experience of working with a publisher, like what was different, what was better, what was your overall experience? And then I plan to use it in a number of different ways. I'll probably pull some quotes out and use them as print on Instagram and Facebook, possibly LinkedIn. I'll post the video to YouTube. I'll post it to Instagram TV and Facebook and LinkedIn. Like, I really want people to understand there's value in not going it alone.
Yeah, I love that. What's nice about anything that's long form, like what Debbie's suggesting, she's going to record an interview, 30 minutes or whatever. So then you have the long form in its entirety, which can be used as one video or one article or one whatever. And then there's the ability to chop that up into smaller chunks that can be used on shorter form posts, shorter videos. If you've got GarageBand on your Mac, you can chop these videos up pretty easily. From what I hear, I never done it. But you can leverage that. And that's the lovely thing about having a big piece of content. And this customer story is no different, right? You have a big piece of content, which is the story. You use that in your marketing, and then you repurpose pieces of that in your marketing for as long as you want to. As long as the story is relevant and you have a good relationship with that client, you can use it for as many years if you want. So that's one way. So Debbie's going to record a video. So how many of you have video testimonials or video stories already? Karen does. Debbie does. Yay! I was expecting no hands. I love that I have hands up. And Nicole, yes, Nicole does. Of course, Nicole does. Nicole's incognito today. I'm dying to know why. I think it's supposed to be crazy in the Meltzer house. That would be another way to up level this process for you, is to get on Zoom. So easy now, side by side chat. With a Zoom, you have a video file. You can just use the audio like a podcast, or SoundCloud or anything like that. Gives you a lot of flexibility. Family, I hear you, Nicole. It gives you a lot of flexibility on that. So if you're thinking about, well, how can I kick this up a notch? Video testimonials for sure. Getting the stories on video, especially if you can edit it, because and that's okay if it looks edited even, because it allows you to put chop out, when somebody's rolling on and there's a lot of and you can have somebody, you can repeat the questions, so you can put together a nice video. That's just a great way to up level your marketing. I would recommend captions on those videos, and if you have the way of doing it, a transcript. You can use rev.com for both of those features. Debbie, go ahead.
I'm going to say, when you use Rev, because I did this yesterday for the first time, to put captions on Instagram, you actually have to embed them into the thing, not have it go separately.
Yep.
Which is different than Facebook, because I had to do it twice.
I need to pay for it times.
Now I know, so I'm just telling you, just pay that extra 25 cents to get it embedded.
Yeah, so their verbiage in Rev is burn in, which I can just put in a Georgia drawl. Burn in captions. Yeah. Yes. Who has a video editor, or knows someone who is a video editor that can? Connie Jo, go ahead, and then Hannah.
My son does video editing, and he's really good. He did some things for me for my presentation that
Wonderful.
would have taken me 2 hours, and he did it very quickly. So
I love that. Yes.
you would need to know specifically like what your point is, what you're trying to get rid of, or if you're trying to cut it up or whatever.
Awesome. So Tommy Miller. Hannah, do you have a recommendation as well? And is he as cute as Tommy Miller?
No, I just I do them myself.
Oh.
I have a program called ScreenFlow, and it's very useful because it lets me edit the videos, and also I can mix animated video with live video, and I have total control. So I
love it.
I love that program. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I should have guessed because your videos are well edited. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, Margaret.
So that was the question, is video editing software. I used to use the Microsoft Movie Maker. When I got my new computer, I didn't transfer that program over. And now what they have is a real mess. And I'm at a loss for how to do some of the things I want to do. Add a page in the front and a page at the end, a beginning and end screen and things like that. So anybody have suggestions?
So for PC, Hannah put ScreenFlow or Camtasia. Debbie's saying
Okay.
hire it out. It looks like ScreenFlow or Camtasia
Thank you.
for that. I know you can also edit video in YouTube, but I don't think you can splice and dice in there. I think you can just cut.
Yeah. Okay.
There's Tommy's information. Everybody knows where Hannah is located. I love that some of your children are helping you with, I know Karen just mentioned that. Nicole mentioned that. I think Debbie's had one of your boys. Which one is? Probably not Coop.
Jack.
Oh, this is Jack. Okay. Yeah, helping with that. So Kristen, were one of your daughters helping you?
No, it's me.
It's you.
And I just wanted to share a fun story with you guys. From the first time I tried to add subtitles using, I think, the Facebook tool, and maybe I did tell you already. So I'm doing this channeling, and it is from the master Melchizedek. And so I begin by saying, here are whatever, Melchizedek, and the subtitle says, I give you a dick. I was like, what? I was like, where did that come from? And in the end, I could not make it. I mean, it just insisted on that.
Yeah.
that
no.
was so much fun. So
Oh,
afterward,
that's the best. That's the best caption story. I don't have any caption horror stories. I tried to use the Facebook native one, and I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. And I don't know. It may have improved, but they do have a native. Everybody's shaking their head. No, don't bother with it. If I have to end up retyping a half of it, then that's just not worth my time. But that's funny. Could have left it and see what kind of. Probably had the highest engagement ever on that video. So yes, make sure if it's not in your wheelhouse to do the editing, some people like to do this stuff, and that's cool. Then definitely use those resources here that we have posted to help you with that. Especially with your customer videos, I would advise, really making them as professional as possible. Not that it has to be slick, but the better it looks, the more likely that customer will share, and it'll get shared again. So we want to make sure we're putting our best foot out there as well. And it would be lovely if you could add an intro and an outro if you want to get sophisticated, even if it's just simply your logo, just to really brand that 100%. So let's think about, go ahead, Karen.
We were talking about the testimonials on the back of the envelope, and I think you're the only one here who's seen what I do. So I went and got one.
Oh,
okay.
Perfect.
Okay, this is the front of the envelope. And this is the back. And so it prints all the testimonials on the back, and I change it every time I get more envelopes printed. And this is a printer in Kansas who has a print set up so that they can print both sides at the same time. I mean, it doesn't have to flip it. And a lot of printers don't have that, but this one in Kansas does have the equipment that does that. So that's why I get it done.
Ah, very cool.
But anyway, this is.
Yeah. So there's about 8 testimonials on average, would you say, on the back of that? 6 or 8?
There are 10 on the back of this one. It depends on how long the testimonials are.
Yeah. And do you put the person's first and last name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very cool. Hi, Kristen's cat. Yes, Debbie.
As an editor, I can tell you, you have blanket permission to edit people's testimonials as long as you're not changing the meaning. And what I usually do is edit it and then send it back and say, here's the part I'm going to use, because you want to get a variety of testimonials too. So not everybody's like, Karen is great, she ships on time. You want to have, a variety of like different things. And I'm just using Karen as an example because she has them on the back of her envelope.
Yeah, you want it to be bestowing all of your different characteristics. And that can be part of your questions that you ask. So again, I mentioned one of the questions I ask is, what part of Celestial University do you like the best? And some people put study hall, some people put the library, some people put the live class, some people put the Facebook group, I mean, whatever. The reason's variable. What I love about it is if I want to talk about study hall, then I know I got study hall, a testimonial from the past, usually more than one. And it's usually from Connie Jo. She gave me a testimonial and I just love the way she wrote it. I've used that since the moment she gave it to me, and that's okay. But then, then I can put all the study hall quotes together. I did one email where I was asking people to join. It was Celestial Circle at the time. And I took a sentence out of, I go, here's what Denise said about live class. Here's what Connie Jo said about study hall. Here's what Debbie said about the library or whatever. And I just picked these testimonials to hit all the different aspects of the program to show why people liked it. So when you get to build this archive, you will be able to repurpose those. And again, as Debbie says, I shorten them, or I just take one sentence instead of a long paragraph. It's still their words, of course. So how many of you know right now who you'd like to do a customer story on? Okay, Debbie. All right, so I think that's our first order of business, is to go through your testimonials if needed. or maybe go get that initial testimonial. I want you to think about who you'd like to highlight. It is better to have one person because it's a customer story as opposed to a group. But if a group speaks to you, so I'm thinking like Karen, maybe it's the Christmas card collectors club. You know, maybe it's just highlighting that group of people. I'm making this up. You know, maybe it's you know, people that are in a certain level of your program. But it really works best if it's one person. And I want you to think about who you would like to approach. Now, you may already have a testimonial from this person. My recommendation is that you still want to talk to this person again and or get more information from him or her. So again, you could do a video, you could go on Zoom and do an interview and record it. You don't have to publish that, but it could just be the material that you use to write the story. Or you could do a survey where they put in the answers, you know, to a questionnaire, and then you take that and finesse it. Whatever works best for you. It really depends on what your relationship with that person and how you best glean information. But then what you're going to do is you're going to write a story, beginning, middle, end, thinking of the framework that Kendra's proposed here, trying your best to fit that framework. It may not work perfectly because sometimes you're just not going to get an answer on aspect A. Well, then skip it. It's okay. Your story's not going to be horrible because of it. But if you can check all those boxes, the better off you will be. So I want you to, we're going to take just some time here, just about 10 or 15 minutes. And here's what I'd like for you to do. First of all, I want you to identify the person you'd like to do a story on. Then I'd like for you to think about what information you need to gather from that person. And then I want you to think about the format for interviewing, whatever that looks like. And just write down some thoughts wherever you want it. And then let's reconvene. So let's just do let's start with 5 minutes because I don't think this will take very long. Yeah, Kristen, go ahead.
Just to see if I understand this correctly. So for instance, I have quite a long testimonial, both one in Danish and one in English, that somebody, where they were like, blah, 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 blah. So I could, and they're beautiful, it's nice.
Good. Good.
So I could actually take that one and then rewrite it from my point of view so that in order to-
You can rewrite it using this framework. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how that works for you. Okay. Yep. So again, identify the person, identify what information you need from that person, identify how you're going to gather that information. Let's just write those 3 things down first. I forgot to time us, sorry. But Mr. Wu's here. I was doing the Ways of a Loud Woman presentation in Susan Rose's group on Monday. And Mr. Wu waited to the very end, at least, before deciding to interrupt, right? So you pick somebody, got somebody in mind, and hopefully you thought about what questions you need to ask that person. Again, you may have, like Kristen mentioned, she has a pretty lengthy testimonial to work from. You may have enough already, which is great. I would still suggest reaching out to that person to say, congratulations, I'm going to be highlighting you, you know, just something like that, maybe to gather a new headshot or whatever. I do also believe that the client should be able to approve that content. To me, that's really important. You don't want to throw something out there that's not blessed by that person. That could backfire. So after you create the videos and or the copy, making sure that you send that back out to that person. But for most of us, it's going to be, they're going to be, you know, you're going to reach out to them now or here in the next week. You're going to conduct the interview or get the questionnaire or whatever. You're going to work through the story, and then you're going to send it back to that person. So they're going to be part of this process. They're going to know. It's not going to come out of nowhere for them. But just make sure in that process that you create for yourself as it relates to customer stories, especially, you want to make sure that the person blessed it. Margaret, you had your hand up.
I did for our legal advice.
Sherry.
Do we need to provide them with a release, like a photo or video release?
If you have already gotten their permission, it's not 100% necessary. Although
fine.
I'm never going to tell you not to do it, because having that in your back pocket in the event trouble would show up later is always nice. So particularly if you're going to be, you know, posting them on your website or, you know, something where it's out there in the world,
Right.
it doesn't hurt to have it. It's not required, it's not necessary, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Well, I remember at least several years ago, people said in order to use videos or whatever, you know, you need to make sure they sign the release. You know, and in my evaluation, that where I have used the written testimonials, I have them write their name or initial it, that and I keep that on file. So that CYA there. But, you know, was curious about the video as well.
Yeah, I know, like, you know, in the corporate setting, which is where I have the most familiarity with that, you know, you have employees coming in and you tell them up front, you know, as part of their onboarding process, we're going to be taking pictures and video, you know, in this building, and, you know, here, sign the form in the employee handbook saying you agree that we can use this information. If you didn't have that, then for every event where something came up, you'd want to go get it. You're using that information, you know, those pictures, that video, in a very commercial way. And some people are going to tell you up front, no, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want my face out there. But you're going to know, working with your clients, when you ask for a testimonial and you say, can I put this on my website? Can I attach your name to it? Can I attach your photo to it? They're either going to say yes or no. And, you know, at that point, you have their permission. So the actual signed form is just extra protection.
Yeah, love that. Excellent question, Margaret. And thank you, Sherry, for your expertise. I would remind any, though no one on this call is healthcare, but Rachel or somebody watches this later, especially those of you who are health coaches or wellness coaches who are dealing with private health information, please be familiar with US HIPAA or laws, or the ones in your country, because I know, Sherry, as you probably can confirm, that those are very stringent, from remembering from my days. Yeah, so please be sure to check that.
And, you know, if you're in any profession where it's personal information, so even, you know, Connie Joe with finances, me with legal, what we will and won't say about our clients, if we say anything at all, has to be filtered through our profession. So,
Yeah,
you
makes
know,
sense.
if you're
Right.
operating in any of those categories, you have to be careful too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sherry, let me ask you why I have you. So I was thinking about you as I wrote this module today, because you're newer to business. Do you have a client you're going to feature, you think?
I have a real problem with this. I have testimonials and I have client testimonials on my website, but the idea of actually featuring a client in a way that would highlight them via a video or via a story in a
Mhm.
newsletter, I don't think plays well with my profession.
Mhm.
So I'm listening to the class and kind of gathering information
Mhm.
for the future for the education side of things, because right now on the legal side of things, I just don't think this whole idea plays well with.
Well, that was one of my wonderings. And it goes, so when I teach a class, I teach it broad. And then I hope everybody's discerning as it relates to their professions and the regulations within their professions, as in your case, Connie Jo, those in the health field. So I'm glad that, thank you for being open and taking
Yeah.
the nuggets. I think if anything, if to walk away with from hopefully the one of the lessons is the questions to ask even at the testimonial stage, to make sure you're getting the best testimonial that you can within the regulations of your field. And if it doesn't speak to them, yeah, don't do it.
Well, when you're talking about pain points and those kind of things, it's very hard to have, a client who, was in a position where there was a dispute with somebody else and you really can't bring any of that up. You can't talk about it in a way that could possibly identify it, because it's not just your client, but the other side that you're dealing with. So, then I'm left with boring contracts and website policies. And, there's a limit to how far that goes. I mean, there's not the kind of pain points that create a story behind that.
Mhm.
So,
So thank you for that. We have a couple thoughts. I see hands flying, especially after that last sentence. So Connie Jo, then Debbie.
Sherry, I think you could do an awesome thing with this. You could create a client. It doesn't have to be a real person, but you could bring in components of people that you've worked with, the kind of stuff that they've been, struggling with. So just make somebody up and, put that in like on commercials for diarrhea medicine. They don't use real people with diarrhea. They say this is not an actual blah, 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 but and say that, like, this isn't a real person, but this is what I hear every day, or something like that. But just and make up a fun name and Debbie Dilemma or
What? Look at Debbie. Wait a second. Let me just spell IE. Go ahead, Debbie. Go ahead, Debbie Dilemma.
Even.
Jill is jittery Jill. Things that we all
Not diarrhea, Debbie.
Diarrhea, Debbie.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You could do a great thing with this. It would be really good, I think. Not a real person.
Debbie, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I agree. I think you can take an amalgamation and say that to protect my clients, what I'm doing is pulling threads, but it's an illustrative example that is real, but everything has been masked so you don't know people. And I immediately went to like those crime shows where they black somebody face out and they have the voice modulator where they sound like Darth Vader. That could be fun too.
That'd be funny. Yeah, so I think that the question was when you said it, Sherry, then I saw the hands fly up. And I'm not picking on Sherry, this is for everybody. How can you do both? How can you be in integrity to your brand or to your profession and still have a successful story? And maybe it's just being funny, as some of the suggestions here, as a way to not work around, but to make it fun, despite maybe a dry content. Because the contracts, oh God. Woohoo, exciting. But maybe that's the thing is how can you make your contracts exciting? Like how can you have fun with that? The classic example is Connie Jo, who came to a virtual networkers meeting, I think it was 2 weeks ago, with a handkerchief on her head like Carol Burnett, and I think she had a mop and a dustpan, and she was attempting to make bookkeeping fun, and she did. And she calls herself the Bodacious Bookkeeper. And I love that juxtaposition of something that seems very dry and unexciting, mixed with humor and fun as well. So not today, Sherry, but I think just, again, ideas for you in the future. And certainly if you need help with it, let us know, because it sounds like we all have great ideas for you when you're ready. But for now, gathering those lovely 3 to 4 sentence testimony, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. And you may come upon a client, a future client that you don't know of yet. Then you're thinking, well, this might be something I can work with. You just don't know what stumbles your way. So that would be it. Nicole's in the chat box mentioning that when she was in the regulated health professional there in Canada, it was illegal for her to have testimonials. Isn't that interesting? So she offered case studies, and she didn't identify names or identification on that person. So there are, I hate the word workarounds because that sounds like almost cheating, but there's alternative ways to get the stories out if that's your marketing objective, right? And so let's hope we can just keep that creativity going. So what I'd love for you to work on now, you've identified the person. Hopefully you've identified an idea of what information you need to gather from that person. You thought about how you're going to gather that information, whether it's getting on Zoom or sending out a questionnaire. Making sure, again, using the guideposts there from pages 2 through 3. Those are Kendra's frameworks, which I think is a very good one. Hitting as much of those questions as you can. Some of them may not be relevant, so don't toss them, but try to check as much of those boxes as you can in your asking, and getting that information out there, and then gathering it in some way. This would be something that could really improve your marketing in ways that you may not even expect. And what I would say also is don't use it once. So many times I see entrepreneurs, they have this great video or a great blog post, they publicize it once, and then you don't hear from it again. Especially with social media algorithms, especially with email open rates. The first time you send something out or the first time you post it, it only catches a small percentage of people. So make sure, especially for these larger projects, especially if you made some kind of investment in time or money, that you're continuously or consistently promoting that in some way. And again, we talked about this earlier about having this that large piece of content. You could absolutely repost that, but then how can you slice and dice that into smaller components if for other ways. So, Karen's using them on the back of an envelope. She might have them on her website. Some of you may have it, like I have book blurbs for that first client that some of you provided for. So I have them on the front of my book, right? That's awesome. But then yesterday I took Robin Graham's and I made a graphic out of it and used it on social media. So just already repurposed one of those, and I'll continue to do that. Yeah, Margaret, go ahead.
I just had a brainstorm, and the fact that on your LinkedIn profile, there's a place for projects. There's also the recommendations, which many of you have been kind enough and generous enough to give me. But I think that if we can talk about a particular project or a particular thing that we did, we can add in the testimonials, or we can even add in a testimonial at the bottom of your about section.
Love that.
You can also add media. So all of that. So
yeah, use all those little pockets, especially in the LinkedIn profile, that really has a lot of those fields that you can use. Go through them. And of course, Margaret's a great resource if you're not sure what's even available. Margaret, I know, would be delighted to help you with that. Go ahead, Debbie.
I was going to say, I just did that, Margaret. I may have been channeling you, but I put some of the books up. Like I put Jill's book up on my Facebook profile, like here's what we've done. And Hannah's book is up there, and a couple of others as well.
Yeah, great idea. I put my book on LinkedIn. I have it there a couple times, different places. Why not? I wrote the book, I might as well put it out there, right? And so that's the same thing with the customer testimonials. Where else can you tuck it? And do not hesitate about republishing or reusing a testimonial and or story more than once. You should be. Don't worry if they've read it already. They'll read it again. You know, maybe this time that message will land differently in a way that compels them to reach out to you. So just because you've put it out there once doesn't mean it's been read by everybody once. So make sure you remember that as well. So I'm going to open the floor. My first thing, thank you, Sherry, earlier talking about resistance to this project. I'm going to use the word resistance, very bona fide resistance from Sherry's end. Was there anything coming up about this process or about this type of work that makes you feel a little swirly? Anything that comes up? Good. Awesome. So let's set some goals for ourselves. I think everybody said they had someone in mind who's going to do this project, just got somebody in mind. So when are you going to reach out to them? Bless you. Oh my goodness, Mr. Wu. When are you going to reach out to them? Margaret, when are you going to reach out to the lucky person?
Actually, this person's been on my mind to contact anyway, so just to follow up. And so this week.
Awesome. Kristen, how about you?
Yes. Soon? No, I already have two, right? Because I already have two reviews or testimonials, one in English, one in Danish. And I made a list while we were talking earlier of people that would be good to contact. And as I am right now inviting former clients that had past life therapy with me to, I'm writing a book.
Writing a book.
In Danish, though, this time, about past life therapy, because the way I work is a very special kind. It's not like hypno that everybody else does. And I'm asking my clients if they want to join with their notes, because they get my written notes from these therapy sessions.
Nice.
And if they kept them, and if they would like their story part of the book. So, and I was like, oh, then I get all these people. Well, and if I don't get enough, I'm going to contact some directly. And then I will both have for the book, and I will have their kind of like a testimonial as well, right? So this is actually part of my work here in February to collect these notes and testimonials about the therapy session. So I'm on my way. Yes.
This is great timing for you, and congratulations on the book. And Debbie put "for now" on that Danish.
Yeah, Debbie, we have to work on that one.
You know, why not do it in another language once you get that Danish one done? Good for you, Kristen. Awesome. Debbie says she's following up today. Nicole's following up today. Sherry following up for testimonial. Awesome. Good job, Sherry. How about you, Hannah? When are you going to reach out? I don't wanna. I'm busy. I got to school.
No, today or tomorrow.
All right. Love it. Connie Joe, how about you? Friday. Oh, that's okay. You can still speak if you like. I'm so proud of you all. Karen, I never forgot. Well, Karen, are you going to do this, or what are you going to do with this assignment?
I'm going to start working on my Ornament of the Month club for this summer. And I need to start working on the publicity now. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm working on a catalog. And so when I finish the catalog and get it off to the printer, then I'm going to start on the Ornament of the Month club. And I already had down on that to ask for 2 or 3 testimonials from people who belonged last year. So I will do that when I finish the catalog.
Perfect sense. Makes absolute sense. Yes.
Because I don't need that yet.
No, you don't. And you need to focus on your catalog. I totally get it.
Yeah, I have to do the catalog first.
Yeah. Awesome. Good for you. Just moving and grooving. So virtual networkers, those of you in virtual networkers, guess what's coming? Jill Celeste, might be reaching out to you. We actually have, and this is side note, but this is just relevant, even though those of you, there's a couple of you are not in virtual networkers, but that's okay. I'm gonna share this anyway. So we have one chapter that's based in Europe, and Kristen's a member of that chapter. It's run by Rachel Taylor. Some of you already know her. And so when she hosts events, it's 4 a.m. Eastern here in my time zone. And so a lot of our members aren't able to give testimonials or participate in her events because it's really too early in the morning. So she went and interviewed Judy Kane, who I think some of you know. And so she interviewed Judy Kane on Zoom, all on her own. God, I love Rachel Taylor. And then she used that in her marketing for her open houses. And it was beautifully done. It was great. It was very casual. It's not, it's not slick or anything, but the questions were wonderful, short interview, very powerful. And Judy gives a great testimonial. If she's in any of your programs, she's great. She knows exactly how to answer the questions, which is super helpful. And so I think that, and I'm thinking I will be putting more of those types of videos in our repertoire, because often that's just what you need to hear, is just what's someone's experience with that networking group or with that university or with working with Margaret on a LinkedIn profile. It's that one thing that this throws them over the edge and said, yep, I'm going to say yes. So for those of you in virtual networkers, don't be surprised if you get a reach out from Jill or somebody to do a quickie interview, because I think that's the next piece that we need. So that'll be what I'll be working on. Any questions or comments or anything? That's it for my content for today that I had to deliver. If I want to open the floor, any questions or comments, anything that we can help each other with. It doesn't have to relate to customer stories. Connie Jo, please go ahead.
It has nothing to do with anything.
That's all right.
It has everything to do with everything.
Of course.
Today I'm in an all-day Digital Bookkeeper Association webinar, and I went into it like, but it's been so awesome. I'm just so excited. I have so much to share. But what the topic was when I left to come here was about cybersecurity. And I just wanted to warn everyone that small businesses are getting the biggest attacks right now. And it usually comes via email. And what they do is they go into your email and then they go out to people that you work with. So it might not be you that gets the scam happen to you, but they go like to Margaret and say, oh, I've been working on my LinkedIn profile. Can you click here and tell me what's wrong or something like that? They do stuff like that. So it's just really beware, be diligent, be super careful, because email's the way they do it, and they don't also always do it directly. So just wanted to share that with everybody.
That's a little scary.
I'm freaking out.
I know.
Well, and especially with all the new money that's available, the loans and all the SBA stuff, they'll do stuff like that. Like they could say, oh, your bookkeeper said that you were interested in, or something, but they're really sneaky and they really can trick the most savvy person. So just be aware.
Just be conscientious of what comes in your emails, for sure. Thank you, Connie Jo. I'm glad you're enjoying your seminar as well. Debbie, let's talk to you for a quick second.
Yeah.
Debbie did a 3-day event with Sage, which is the event people I mentioned earlier. So what's the status of events in the future, did they say?
This year, again, all virtual. They think that the fall into 2021, there could be hybrid events before they go to in person. However, hybrid events actually sound really horrifying because you've got to talk to one audience or another. Yeah. And they had one, and I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a big name, but they had people in the room on kind of like if you were at a nightclub, at a comedy show, they had along the stage, the person was presenting the stage, but they were speaking to all the bank of camera, video. So they say have virtual now and live events. He said, but I don't think virtual will go away, because what people are discovering is that if you do virtual events correctly, you can create an in-person feeling and more people can come because you have now a global audience. People don't have to spend the money traveling or on food or on pet or kid care. And so they have more to invest in programs than they have in the past, as long as their business is able to be sustained. It was fascinating, and I cannot wait for my first virtual event, which I think will be this fall, and it's going to be an author event.
We have a few authors here, so that's
Yeah,
exciting.
I know. So it's just, and literally you need your computer, you need your television, and then you set up your Zoom to have dual monitors, and you project the panel up on your television with a 15-foot HDMI cable, and you've got a virtual event.
It's amazing. So
So you
accessible.
can actually see people and talk to them and call on them. And
Very cool. Very cool. I can't wait to see what you come up with then.
Oh, that's
me
fabulous.
too.
That's fab. Thanks for the scoop on the state of events, because I've been itching to go to an event, but I'm not ready. I miss them.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to go to a conference.
Can I show you what they did?
Yes, of course.
Every person who attended this event, and I think they had over 1,600 people register,
Good for them.
1,300 people come, and they are truly the nicest people. Like,
Okay.
seriously.
Blue and berry.
They shipped everyone a swag box. And in it, it's all branded, and you don't have to do anything this big, but they set you up for success to be at a virtual conference. So there's actually, the inside says, "Yay you, here's how you show up." They had a hat, lovely mustard color.
Not your favorite color.
Got the hashtag they wanted everybody to use right on it. A water bottle.
So cute.
A mug that's hot or cold. A door hanger.
That's clever, isn't it?
This is my favorite part because they can be used anywhere. Emoji paddles. You'll be seeing these again. Ka-ching.
So did they prompt you, like, show us your emoji paddle or whatever?
Well, they're like, and then they had a lot of tech, but you could push different emojis on the screen that were branded like this, and they would float up behind them. It was amazing. You'd see hearts, and that was when you are hiring.
Deluxe level, yeah.
Yeah, and then stickers, and then Post-it notes with strategy first.
What was this organization?
It's called Sage Event Planning.
Oh, okay, thanks.
They do a ton of stuff for free. But here's the thing is they do Fabienne's events. They now do Tony Robbins, because he heard that they were doing this virtual thing, and the bank of televisions that he had for his event. But they do Jeff Walker. They do
Stu McLaren.
Stu McLaren. Yep. They do them all, and they were all in person. And so they literally, within 2 or 3 weeks, they went from all in person to all virtual. And they're the only people in this space that are doing it the way they're doing it.
Good for them for being
Amazing. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, awesome. Good news. So some ideas, Dad. Go ahead, Karen.
I went to the Sage one that they did last spring, maybe in May. Heather and I both did it, and I've got a swag box just like Debbie's with different things in it that some of my family came and took some of the things. Oh, I want this, or I want that. But it was just amazing. And it was done like 3 weeks after everything shut down.
Amazing.
And it was just amazing. And what I want to do with it and haven't done yet is do this for the people, the collectors. Heather and my problem with this is that we've got so many people who are not real computer savvy and don't even have an idea of what Zoom is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't set it up yet, or I've planned out some things, and I planned out some things that when I was doing it, I didn't do the one that Debbie just did because I was doing another one, and that was what I was going to talk about. I've done one the last 2 days, and it's one that's social media and that's geared for people who are in retail.
Perfect.
And
Love
yeah, but it was done from California, and so it wasn't really wonderful for Eastern time. My Scotties were not liking it so much because it was dinner time and I was still on the call. And I think she did it by herself. She did not use Blue and Berry, but it was very, very well done. And she had some other speakers, but this is the one hint. This is the one big thing that I learned from this. They say you always come up with one big idea. She had a couple on who do things signage for retail stores, for brick and mortar stores. But this is something that we can all use. They said, if you're doing signage for anything, this is like in person, that you take the average age of your customers and divide it in half, and that should be the font point that you're using for any signage. And I'm like, oh my, I should be using 30 point for anything that I do when
Holly, did you write that one down?
and I thought, boy, this is true.
That is so funny. What a great rule of thumb, just to give you a guide, right? That's very
Yeah,
clever.
because I bet my average age is 60, and so I should be using 30 point
That is
for
so
for
funny.
signs if I do an in-person thing. And they say, do not ever use handwritten signs unless you've got somebody who does fantastic stuff
Right.
and things that aren't readable. But anyway, 30
Thank you for
point.
that tip. 30 point font for you.
Yeah.
Margaret's also in similar age group.
But it was very good. It was almost all social media.
Very cool. I'm so glad people are still doing events,
Oh yeah.
and you know what? I love that we mentioned Blue and Barry from Sage pivoting so quickly.
Mhm.
And I have seen so many businesses. It tells you how creative entrepreneurs are, who were able to pivot like nobody's business when COVID came. And even locally, our restaurants were making family meals. They could buy like a $30 family meal. I mean, just nimble. And I think when we look back at this time, we will see how resilient and how really industrious people are when they have to be. And I'm super super glad. I love the conversation about font types. Thanks. So thank you, Karen, for sharing that. Any other else have anything else they'd like to share? Go ahead, Margaret.
One of the things that came up while we were talking about video, my real estate friend that I referred to, Laura Templeton, was one of the very first people to ever do video testimonials.
Very good idea.
On YouTube from her phone. And so she told me that original video still gets views today. And
wow.
So, yeah. And so she's smart about taking it, at closing, when they go to the house to do the walkthrough or whatever it is, she takes it on site. And then, but yeah, she's really good about that. And she taught classes for the real estate people to do that. So
good for her.
And Karen, one of the things, there's a lady in the Monday Virtual Networkers, Lawden, who does events. And so she can maybe help you with your event I'll try to get you her information.
Yes, she's another great contact. Yes, thank you for that. Yep. Yeah, still talking about signage. Karen, go ahead.
I don't need that. Heather has been doing virtual since the law firm that she works for went all home-based, and she's been doing virtual events for the law firm since like March. And that was why she took Blue and Berry's course with me in May and learned so much. And actually, I am going to brag. She got an absolutely gigantic bonus from them for last year for what she did, going virtual with all the training.
Did she buy a new kiln? Get some more pottery?
No, she got all new windows for her house.
Well, that's a nice investment. The
Yeah.
kiln would have been more fun, but what I know.
Well, she's got, I think she's got 2 kilns.
I think, yeah, she's like, I just joke because I know she.
I think she's got
Let's get her hands in there.
she's got 2 kilns. So there's no problem with having her run it
That's
for me
wonderful.
because she knows how to do it. But she said she picked up so many ideas from Blue and Berry for what she did for the law firm.
That's awesome. Well, keep us posted, Karen, when you decide to take that plunge, so we can
Yeah.
see the jujus.
Yeah, there's just been so much else to do with everything that I'm still working on that it's just one thing that we've got to do this. It's out there that we're going to do.
Yeah, good for you. Sounds like
Particularly since the collectors convention. I don't know that they've got it planned for this year for June, but I don't know that they're going to be able to have an in-person one again this year.
too soon. I think it might be too soon.
It's just sad that people aren't able to get together,
Yeah,
as we all know.
yeah. Let's all get our shots when we can. Debbie, do you have your hand up?
I just wanted to encourage Karen about the number. As long as somebody has a computer or an iPad, you can teach them to access
Right.
Zoom, because we have in my building, I'm by far the youngest, and we have all of our board meetings on Zoom now, and I trained everybody. And we just had our shareholders meeting on Zoom and voted electronically.
Mhm.
And everybody raved about it. It was the best meeting we've ever had. So
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
just preparing people. Here's
Right.
what you do, doing a tech check and all that stuff. So
Right.
if they want to do it, they'll come.
Right.
They'll
Which is what Blue and Berry did with the one last May. I don't know if they did it with you, that you had to go through the tech check before you could get on. And so we would have to do that. And that would be Heather doing that, and that we have to work that out.
love it.
But thank you for the suggestion.
You got it. Love it. All right, ladies. Well, it was great to chit chat with you. It was nice just to kind of circle the wagons. Yeah. So our next time is study hall next Thursday. So Margaret, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
One quick suggestion or question is, on your Celestial University, on our particular area where you've got the links and the dates, could you add the times so we don't have to go searching somewhere for the time each of these events are going to be, so I can put it appropriately on my calendar?
Are you talking, where are you seeing it without the times? I'm sorry, I'm not. I
Uh,
can't conjure what you're talking about. I apologize.
okay. Could I share screen?
Yeah, it's all set. You should be able to share.
Right here. So this month's live class.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. I just needed a visual. You
Yeah.
got it. You got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just makes it easy then to go say, okay,
Yeah.
I can plug that in at the right time. I
Me
know
too,
they're
how that
usually
works.
around either 11 or 11:30, but I never remember.
No problem. Thank you for showing me. That helps me so much. Yeah. Go ahead, Connie Jo.
That prompted something else. The student directory I love it, but it's very spotty. So many people have not done any updating, put their information. So
Yeah.
if there's some way you can like prompt people to go in and fix their profile, because it's a
Sure.
really good tool.
Thank you. I'm glad you like the tool. Laura Templeton just emailed her peeps to update there, because that's actually one of the bigger ones.
Mhm.
We have some process improvement we'll be implementing after we get the lunch, the Love and Learn. But if you see someone who doesn't have their thing, I would call them out lovingly, call them out for me, because you know what? I send so many emails that when I send something, it often just goes into the delete bin. It's just the way it is. But when it's someone from someone else saying, hey, maybe that will get their attention. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, one of the big problems I have Gmail, is stuff goes to promotions instead of my inbox.
Mhm.
I miss stuff unless
Yeah.
I specifically look for it. I
Cool.
know it's there, then I can find it, but so much just gets,
It does. And, and you know, poor Susan Shelton, she gets every email of mine except for the replay email from Virtual Networkers
oh,
that does not deliver to her box. She gets all the other ones.
uh-huh.
And that's the one she really wants, because she's very active with the chat box transcript. So I have to send her a separate email
Yeah.
until she gets it figured out. It's just, and it's not even a Mercury retrograde. It's all the time. It's
Yeah.
so crazy. But we work together. We'll get through it together. So Margaret, I will definitely add the times for you there. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, girls, thank you so much for your time. I'll see some of you on Friday. Mwah. Love you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.